What's happening, everyone? This is Ashley Schuler as we are here live. We are here live, excited to be here. We are diving into a brand new topic today, actually, today and Wednesday, where we're talking about knowledge management. We're talking about how is it that we organize processes and systems and all the like, right? And we are ensuring that we can do that in such a way that is super helpful to our brands and our businesses, to our workplaces, and all of that. We're going to do a quick test of what's going on, Winifred. We're going to do a quick test on the YouTube, and we're just going to make sure that we are all settled. Conversations. Okay. Yeah, I just want to say, how you doing, Winifred? Things are going well. How are things going with you? How are things going with you? Things are going well. Awesome, 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 awesome. We go to the channel. Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, folks can hear me. That's always a good thing. Unfortunately, when it came to last Wednesday's live stream, guess what happened, folks? The mic that I have, it's right here. You can kind of sort of see it. The mic went like flat. I don't know what happened, but I think I remember a red button. So my mic was on mute and I went in for like 40 minutes. So we're definitely going to do task management part 2, but not this week. We'll probably do a bonus session. But yeah, I thought that was wild. So with that said, we are going to get rocking and rolling. I do want to talk a bit about some of the apps that I think that we should make note of when it comes to communication, video and meeting and conferencing. Some updates that I want to see. We are in the day and age of extreme collaboration, of extreme communication. And it is really, really important that we are literally thinking of ways where we can really engage with one another in a simple way, right? And when I mean simple, I don't mean like, oh, it's so simple, a baby can do it. Well, maybe. But we want to make sure our communication, the tools that we use, simplify our messages, whether we are leading a team, whether you are an implementer. So I'm talking to you both sides of it, those that are leading, those that are CEOs and whatnot. Mogul Mike's in the building. And those of you who are the implementers, right? The project managers, the creative designers, those that are doing the tasks. And I think it's really important that we are really focused as a unit here to really understand why it's so important that our communication is streamlined and it's efficient. Now, I also want to point out too that it takes a little bit of time to get a rhythm with people. Now, let's say you pull together a team of folks, y'all are vibing. The way that I communicate is most certainly going to be different from the way Mogul Mike communicates, right? And so we have to begin to learn one another. So that requires some patience. That requires, I would say, taking a disc assessment, right? And that would take some, personal development and really understanding how one communicates so that we're not bumping heads. And I think taking the time to know who we are, knowing our communication styles, and then also compromising, because that both sides have to compromise. And that could just mean there's trade-offs, right? If you're someone who in my post today, I talked on Instagram. I had this post about managing information and disseminating information. If you are at the point in your leadership journey where you're just like, I can't take all the details, then you have to communicate that out to your team and saying, you know what, I just want to know that it's done. And then, or if I want to know if there's a problem or if you have a question, because Many of us that are leading in these spaces, we have to have our thinking caps on and our strategic brains for other things. It's not to say that the details don't matter, but you have to balance out how much information that you actually need. And you have to understand what you have to do with that information in order to make sure that that team member knows how to move forward. So for those that are working with visionaries, I've been there. Those that are working with people who are maybe not so great with details, be patient with those individuals. Always make sure that you are asking the right questions that could pull information out. And definitely what you do too is ask the question, how best can we communicate? I think that's a really good question. I truly believe in async communication. I do like to talk. My eye, if we're going to disc assessment land, is 81. I'm an 88S. I may not be the person that's like, I'm high energy every single time that you see me in the street or online or whatever the case is. But I enjoy people and I like talking to people, and certain things energizes me. This energizes me right here. I love this. This energizes me a lot. Hosting, hosting on this platform, hosting on podcasting. I'll be hosting or the emceeing rather. I'll be emceeing at the Done in a Day virtual conference in a few weeks. That stuff, that type of activity energizes me because I like people. And so what's cool about that is I actually, speaking of personal professional um, development, is I just retook my Strength Finders assessment. That's the second um, piece. That's the second personal development tool that I really love. And one of the things that they said that was in my top 10 was positivity, right? They talked about having contagious energy. They talked about how uh, communication is in my top 10 as well. Knowing how to communicate. They also talk about blind spots. Brooke said, that's me, not always high energy, but like to engage. Exactly. I like to engage with people. So if we think about what we need to do as leaders to help make sure our communication is on point, is that we have to understand that our communication does not always need to be speaking. It doesn't need to always be verbal. It doesn't need to be always video. It can be a mixture of all three. And it also does not have to always be at the same time, if that makes sense. So you don't always have to have real time communication in order for work to get done. So something I found to be really interesting is WebEx, powered by Cisco, has a really good meeting tool. So, what I found really interesting about their platform is that they have interactive whiteboarding, similar to what Zoom has, right? Many of us are Zoomers by heart. But something I thought that was a real plus is that they have live polling and Q&A by this app called Slido. I think that is, come on, like, I think that is awesome. In a day and age of we are doing is meeting, and we're trying to think of ways that we can, really be interactive, and we can really be exciting, and we're not making, meetings boring. WebEx and their platform is really trying to deliver great value in how you conduct meetings in webinar. So, with the meetings, and I'm going to share my screen for those of you that are on Instagram, definitely hit up webex.com so that you can see it. I'm going to show the YouTube and LinkedIn folks what I'm talking about. Let me scroll in. Okay. So you can for sure go with meetings and you go with $0 per user, right? Standard meetings, calling, messaging, 50 minutes, up to 100 people, interactive whiteboarding, secure lobby, meetings on the go. which, okay, move meetings from the desktop to mobile and Apple CarPlay. Oh, that's pretty good. And pin videos and shared content with customized stage layouts. I've been on a WebEx webinar. They had this really great webinar on like remote working and communication and all that, and I thought it was really good. So that, my friends, is WebEx in the $0 plan. Now, if you like to do, let's see, meetings, it's $13.50 per month. Premium meetings, standard calling, standard messaging, standard security. You can meet literally for 24 hours, up to 200 participants, all the things in between, 10 gigabytes. And for this feature, join overlapping meetings at the same time, assign one or more co-hosts to help you manage meetings, closed captions. That's been a huge thing, is this thing with closed captions. Google Meet has that as well. Let's see. Breakout rooms. Okay, you still get breakout rooms in the basic, but unlimited one-on-one messaging, message threads, and message quoting. That's interesting. Availability and presence chat between internal and external guests, video messaging by vidcast, create and share short messages that eliminate the barriers of time zones and help teams to get back in their time back in their day. Huh. Send audio clips. So you can send audio clips with this. This is very interesting. Get started for free. This is really neat. Messaging. Hold on one second. I'm fascinated by this because they said, okay, cool. Oh, you can reply in thread like it is like it's iMessage. Oh, this is beautiful. This is cool. Messaging that proves collaboration anytime, anywhere. Collaborate internally or externally across applications. Oh, so integrations is a huge thing. Let's look at Teams messaging reinvented. Oh. Okay, so they actually have like a messaging platform. Ooh. That's really good. This is really good. Securely share files. Okay, co-edit. Huh. Huh. Ooh, look at all the integrations. Google, Microsoft, Slack. What else they got? Ooh, I want to know all the integrations. Work with the tools you love. Ooh. What's going on, Nancy? All right, so WebEx works with all of these powerful partnerships. Now, for many people, oh wow, okay, so they work with Teams, they work with Miro, which is a flow charting tool. They work with Notion as well. That's pretty interesting, man. So here's something really interesting I think we should highlight, right? So WebEx, I would say, is a primarily like a real corporate type of vibe, like boardroom. Like I would say, some of the bigger companies, maybe like Target, maybe Hallmark, they would use WebEx, right? But what I love is that they know that they had to open up the market to other types of businesses in order to compete. This is just what I'm gathering. So newer collaboration tools like Miro and Notion. And what I mean, Notion, it has been around probably for the past, I believe, 4 or 5 years. Miro, that was formerly a different company. They've probably been around 7, 8 or so years. But you have some of the mainstays like Microsoft and like Google, like they've been around for a minute. Let's see, InVision, Mural, like these are collaboration tools. HubSpot, I mean, this is where you sort of get into more of your consulting firms, some of your online business areas. They know that Notion is a new kid on the block, so they're just like, let me slide up on in there. So I think that is just awesome. Okay. I do, well, we may have to do another demo on Google Meet. But let's transition into talking about knowledge management. Now, another question. So here's how we're going to set this up. Here's how we're going to set this up, folks. You have a meeting, you have people attend, and maybe you have some people who they're not there at the meeting. And one would say, watch the recording, ask somebody to, take notes for you. What do you do? Well, you could probably do both of those things. But the question is, where should this information be stored? You're going to post it to Slack? I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure there's a lot of Zapier integrations with this. But let's really start talking about, what up, Winter? Let's really start talking about the fact that we have to understand, when it comes to knowledge management, when it comes to storing our information and compiling the processes, right? We really got to get an understanding of what does that look like. So we're going to talk today about knowledge management. I'm very excited about this because this has been something that I have been really excited to talk about. Knowledge management. Ooh, I also know that I definitely wanted to give you all an update on where I'm at when it comes to the Agile PM, but we'll do that later. All right, so let's share some screens again and talk a bit about knowledge management and why it's important. Importante. All right, as you see here, shout out to the Whimsical family. We are here in the building. We have created a chart where I am going through knowledge management. Definition of knowledge management. Emil Hajrik, CEO of helpjuice.com, says knowledge management is essentially about getting the right knowledge to the right person at the right time. How many of y'all feel that is something that you can resonate with? I'm just gonna zoom in just a tinge. So just because I want to make sure that you guys can see it. All right, cool. All right. Knowledge management is essentially about getting the right knowledge to the right person at the right time. How many of us have said, oh, I wish I knew that? How many of us have said, man, I wish this was created, right? We wish that something was created. Another definition by Tom Davenport. Knowledge management is the process of capturing, distributing, and effectively using knowledge. Say it with me. Knowledge management is a process of capturing, distributing, and effectively using knowledge. This is really important because many of us feel, well, not even many of us feel, Many of us don't have a good handle on what we should do with our information. We go to conferences, we join these memberships, we go to these webinars, we attend Systems Lab Live. Come on, somebody. Let me throw myself in the mix. So much information that then we don't know what exactly we need to do with that information. Well, what do you mean by that, Ashley? I'm always glad when people ask that. I want to talk to y'all about this little part. I'm about to switch over to my other whimsical thing. Let me share y'all with something, because this is deep. I was just in a conversation about this. After I'll go back. Evaluation of information. Hold on, folks. Let's make sure we're on the same page. Knowledge management is about capturing, disseminating, and using information. But we have to go back and say to ourselves, what do I even do with my information? Have I actually taken the time to evaluate the information? Ask yourself this question: how much information are you receiving? Emails, texts, notifications, Slack. We also just said other things: webinars, membership groups, courses. So much information. Information. A quick question, folks. Do we know these three things? When to keep information, store information, and then, do we know the difference between holding on to the information, to delegating the information, and then acting upon information? Do we know the difference? Because I think that is what truly gets us caught up in what's in our heads. How do we get it out? What do we do? How do we store it? There's so much in my head. Where do I go to take it out? And how do I go about organizing it? So I think even with these two questions, before we switch back to the other graphic, this question right here is: what information do you need to see or hear? And then when do you need to receive that information to act upon it? So the first question is: what information do you need to see and hear on a daily basis? This goes with updates to projects. This is talking about meetings that you have. What is it in terms of the information workflow? What do you need to see? What do you need to hear? What are some of those things that you have written down that's really going to help you to understand when you receive that information? A, do you delegate it? Do you know where and when to store it? And then also, do you know when to act upon that information? Because not every piece of information that you receive, you should act upon it. So that's something that I definitely wanted to share. Reflect upon that. And then we're going to go back to knowledge management so we can talk a little bit about what is it, which is the capturing, distributing, and effectively using knowledge. We're going to go over and really get into the purpose of what does knowledge management do. It's all about making knowledge available for everyone in your team instead of having it reside in the heads of a few and causing knowledge bottlenecks. How much does that resonate with any of you? I know it has with me, where you literally have the information in your head and wouldn't this be good if this was written down, if this was taped, if this was, put someplace so that if I am not around, somebody else could use that information. I know that in many corporations, there's always a fear of the person that knows all of that knowledge that leaves an organization after 20 to 25 years. They leave with that information. And then right around the time that they announce, hey, I'm going off for a new adventure, there's a slight panic in people's spirits because that person knows all of the knowledge. But not only that, it's the nuances, it's the things that you really can't even write down. It's the relationships. It's also the tips and the tricks. It's how you would approach something. That's also all a part of knowledge management. Knowledge management includes those necessary systems and tools for creating knowledge management processes. So it's the combination of people, processes, and tools. I think this is perfect because when it comes to the information that you are receiving and you're looking for a way to organize it, you have to think of the people. You have to think of the process. What's that workflow? And then the tool. How is that captured? How is that stored? And how is that made accessible to others? Knowledge management captures info easily, empowers team members, and creates a world where people aren't relying on other people for information. Powerful. Your knowledge management should not be something that's like, oh, I had to go through all these books. I got to go through all these files. I didn't tag these right or what have you. Knowledge management should empower individuals so that they know how to solve problems without you in the mix, you being the CEO, or if it's a team member that's on the team that heads up creative or business or sales or social media or community management. Knowledge management is key to understanding how a organization and systems work. Okay? You are creating a world where people aren't relying on people for information. Now, you do want your team members to be collaborative, of course, but you don't want to make it seem like that other person can't go on vacation, or that person, can't step out for a few hours because you're relying on them to explain to you where things are. And I think, okay, this is a perfect time to break it down because I know some of y'all are talking about like knowledge, like, what type of knowledge? What you mean? And we're about to get into the 3 types of knowledge, but I am talking about things like SOPs. I am talking about things like manuals. I'm talking about processes. I'm talking about all those types of things. So let's actually go into, I'm just making sure I'm not, okay, we're in knowledge management. Okay. The 3 types of knowledge. Okay. Wow. This was interesting, people. And I just wanted to, I'm just pulling that out so that you guys can, this is like so on the fly, but I just wanted to make some room. Okay. So 3 types of knowledge. The first one is explicit knowledge. I thought this was really interesting. And this is something that all of us are pretty much familiar with, right? This is where you can codify it, you can templatize it, you can put it in a document. These are standard operating procedures, employee handbooks, HR policies, the stages of your documented sales process. That's an example. Your brand content style guide, your brand content library, and its specific content. Okay, that is explicit knowledge. Explicit knowledge. These are the things that we can put our hands on. These are things that are attached to a process. These are things that, and also too, another pro tip: do not write a process, an SOP that's specific to that individual that's on your team, or rather, if they're writing one for the company, make sure they're not writing it like it's them. Write it for the position and the role. Make sense? Make sense? I hope it does. I think it does. Yeah, this is good stuff. Put a 1 in the chat if you are like, I didn't even know this whole knowledge management business, right? I didn't even know. But that is explicit knowledge. This is like the obvious stuff, folks. All right. Ooh, this is good. Tacit knowledge. Okay. Connection Guru is in the building. Tacit knowledge. It's much harder to capture than explicit knowledge. It typically comprises the skills and experiences of your employee that is difficult to explain or share with others. It includes customer support know-how, design skills, and so on. Okay, so I think this is where we skip out on all the details when it comes to the tacit knowledge. This is where you are literally putting together the swag, the style of your brand, and basically capturing that within some sort of format, right? So there could be some things, right, where in Schuler strategies, when it comes to, how we develop presentations, there's going to be some tacit knowledge that I'm going to be able to pass on to my team members. And it's definitely going to be how we put together the presentation, what we say in the beginning, middle, and end. How do you put it together? Okay, so some more examples of tacit knowledge. It is being able to identify the exact moment a prospect is ready to hear your sales pitch. Okay. Knowing just the right words to use within copy to attract and engage your audience, knowing which specific piece of content to deliver a customer based on their expressed needs. So you see, this is not just strictly like a style manual and SOP. This is also tuning in again to some of the nuanced aspects of processes and things within your business or your brand, right? Like this is really that you have to put your thinking cap on, because this is where you're going to make a difference in the way in which you position yourself even inside of your company, right? This is a perfect example. If you got two people who do social media, branding, marketing, and all this other stuff, there's you can't necessarily, well, and let me back that up. A person that's looking to join a community or coaching program on social media, at the most basic level, both of them in good faith probably know what they're talking about. But it's going to be that tacit knowledge where they're going to be able to actually be able to sprinkle their sauce, right? We put some sauce on it, where they're going to have different processes, and they're going to have their own frameworks, and they're going to be able to help you identify what's needed using their tacit knowledge. So I think that's really, really important to understand the aspect of tacit knowledge. At first, I didn't really understand it at first, but I was like, you know what? When I started digging into the research, I was like, that makes sense. Implicit knowledge is information that's transferable to skills. One way to think about implicit knowledge is when someone's performing tasks, they're displaying implicit knowledge, such as performing effective communication. Implicit knowledge is where often individuals are not aware that they're acquiring these skills. They can also be transferred from one job to another. So I think, one more time with this one, with implicit knowledge, this is where it's almost like you almost have a little bit of explicit and then also that tacit. It's almost like a little bit of mixture of both. On the job learning, personal preferences, real life situations, or applications. It's almost like this. An implicit knowledge would be, I would say, if there are certain, like a certain type of process or a certain type of aspect of the brand or business that has been routinely done over and over again based upon the experience of that area. So if it's something like with, branding and marketing, like for instance, I'm looking just for an example as I'm talking. I'm thinking that the implicit knowledge is really comes out when there's a specific task accomplished. Okay, so maybe it's something where they're looking at their social media analytics, and there's something that they're doing with their analytics in terms of maybe how the data is displayed. Again, making it high level, okay, where we can kind of make sure that we make it make sense. So they're doing something in which they present the information to the team in such a way where it's not something that is required to do, maybe, but it's something that's a personal preference. It's something that they've picked up while learning on the job. So that is implicit knowledge. So the three that we have is explicit, um, tacit knowledge, and implicit. So to recap, and I'm going to go out a little bit, but the three types we have explicit, which is your SOPs. These are your handbooks and your manuals, things like that, things that are easily and quickly communicated. Okay. Tacit knowledge, man, these are know-how, some design skills, just it's actually, it's a little bit more, I would say, intuitive, in terms of knowing which specific piece of content to deliver to a customer based on their expressed needs. And even from there, you can for sure take that as a framework and as a model. I like it. I like it. And then implicit knowledge, transferable skills. Okay. Implicit knowledge is where often individuals are not even aware that they're acquiring these skills. They can be transferred from one job to another. So when we're looking at implicit knowledge, there could be something where a team member is performing a task. Again, maybe they, as a mastered one aspect of it, they leveled up and they started doing something else to build upon that particular task and duty. Boom, real life situations or applications, on the job learning, personal preferences. And that, good people, is part one of this week's series, on knowledge management. We have a lot of really great information in store. Wednesday, we're going to be talking about how to start building out your knowledge management library or resources or hub, whatever you want to call it. But we are going to actually catch up right now on a little bit of studying that I have been doing, which is on PM World. Oh, I'm actually going to search for it right here. Agile. Agile flows. Okay. I want to tell you about, I'll tell you guys a little bit about what I'm learning when it comes to Agile PM. So let me show y'all what I'm learning here. Okay, so number one, the reason why I am studying Agile is because the way in which that we work, the way in which we are launching projects and businesses and things of that nature, man, waterfall is literally where it's at. Okay. That's what it used to be. That's what you would say, right? When we would talk about waterfall, like that's how you do project management. However, Agile's been around for a minute, and I began to see Agile as a way in which we reimagine how we can get work done. Not necessarily, well, yeah, it is in a faster way, but it's also focusing on on the customer, on the values, on iterations, on getting feedback. So I was saying, you know what I said to myself? Because I said to myself, how do you determine, literally, how do you determine the agile approach? So I got out my handy dandy project management book, The Practice Guide by PMI. And okay, one thing that I'm going to do, hold on one second, folks. Take off the overlay. Okay, so I asked myself, how to determine the agile approach. Remembering that agile is about how to respond to change and how you have to create the plan, check the plan, and rework the plan. But you have to literally think about assessing the project in both the requirements and the means of delivery to best determine the approach for the life cycle of the project. You may not know out the gate if you need agile or waterfall. But I will say this is a really good way to start off. If your requirements are close to certainty or simple, okay, maybe a little bit complicated, you may want to go with waterfall. However, if it is far from certainty, if it's complex, if it's like a little bit like, eek, like what am I doing? Then you will lean towards agile. You'll lean towards agile. Let's see. Now there's different life cycles. Predictive. Okay, okay, I just wanted to make that. It's a cool thing. I love a little bit of editing on the fly, for real. So I also put together like the life cycle selection, so I can know that, and the characteristics of each. What else did I add to? I added some other stuff too. I'm gonna go all the way here. The 12 principles of Agile are added right here. So I added those two things right here, but the board itself looks good. Like you said, Agile principles of customer satisfaction, Agile's principle of teamwork. And if you click here, Agile Manifesto, it actually takes me to like what the Agile Manifesto is. So one thing I was super encouraged by, because I was talking to some people about using Agile project management, is that they were encouraging me because they said, you know what, Ashley, you can literally write this story the way that you want to. So I said, cool. I said, I'm going to do that. But this is the new way that I am studying. I am using Whimsical. I'm using resources. I'm learning, and then I'm putting it all together on this board. And I'm putting some things in sections. So we do have Scrum right here. This is Scrum, benefits of Scrum, all the epic stuff. So there's many different things that I'm still studying. I love this right here. Factors to determine which project management methodology to use. Clients or stakeholders, external, internal, organizational factors, complexity, duration, and size of the project. So yeah, this is where I'm at right now, folks. Learning about Agile and then mapping it out here. For those of you that don't know what Agile is, the definition of it is that it's an incremental and iterative approach to project management that breaks large projects into smaller development cycles. There are many people who are using Agile in new and exciting ways in different industries: marketing, content creation, software development, NFTs. So as we continue to journey on, I'm definitely going to share with you what I'm building, what I'm learning, where I'm getting insight. And so that's all we have here. I'm very excited about the next few lives as we talk about knowledge management. I hope that you share this particular live to a few people, because I think they would really, really enjoy what you're learning. And again, start making a list. And I guess we're going into the challenge of the week. In which what you should do is you should literally text live to 626-722-5444 and tell me, in terms of the knowledge, based upon the three areas of the knowledge, which one actually resonates more with you. Is it the explicit? Is it the implicit? Is it the tacit knowledge? Which one is it? So catch me and definitely text me. And so because I'm looking to build this movement up of the tech squad. I want to do meetups. I want to do Q&A. I want to do show and tells. I want folks to ask questions. I want us to share and learn. So we're just building up. Love to see a Systems Lab Live crew in 2023. I think it'd be super cool. So that's all I got. I'm excited. And that's all that I have for you all today. We'll talk soon. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. This has been a lot of fun. I have enjoyed myself, and we will talk soon. Bye.